Alrighty folks, this is Lurch from Ireland Gaming and welcome back to another episode of From the Depths. Some of you might recognise this little ship as the Rottweiler from my campaign Let's Play. And with all the patch changes, with the resource overhaul, with the fuel engines, I figured I would show you how I would go about retrofitting something like this to work with the new campaign. So I'm going to walk you through the steps that I would use. First up, the advanced cannons got a bit of a change. The shell or ammo input feeders are now gone and are no longer needed, so we need to get rid of all of these shell parts. So let's make a quick start doing that, and we can just remove all of these. We just don't need them at all. So symmetry on, and okay, first step complete. That was really easy. Let's have a look at the shell. Now some of these things have changed as well. I will be doing a shell customizer tutorial in the very near future whenever some of the advanced cannon things have been just sort of tweaked and fixed a little bit. But we now have this special factor that we can apply to our shells, and this with HEs anyway, and the higher this slider is, the more of the high explosive damage is going to be passed to the shape charge shell and the bigger stats that we'll get here. So this is a tri-barrel 180mm and we're using a shape charge, and I think I'm just going to, let's see, what do we have here? We have a 235 5 meter. Let's see what happens when we pull it down. 235 5 meter, 6.6, 10. You know what? I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to stick a composite head on this. Now this puts our kinetic damage way up, and it's got 9 armor penetration. It's not enough to take out a metal beam by any means. It's not super powerful. It's a nice little mix, and with the volumetric explosions that the HEs provide, having a little hole there helps actually pass the damage through into the hull. So it's a very effective method of actually just getting that little hole in there so that you can spread it out. I've recently discovered that the way high explosives work in this game is they have volumetric explosions, so anything within the 11-meter radius that has an exposed air face receives damage. So it's kind of hard to explain, and I will go into detail in a different video, but having a hole in the hull from the outside actually really helps your damage from HEs go into the body. So having a composite head or some sort of kinetic shell that improves it. Avoid bow heads, of course, because they have the penalty to explosive damage, but like an AP cap or composite on the right shell can actually really help your damage. But other than that, I'm going to leave this guy fairly simple, no special factor. Not that that makes a difference when there isn't a warhead on, but it does a medium amount of explosive damage and a little bit of kinetic damage too. So it's a nice mixed multi-purpose shell, and we now have all this extra room. Isn't that great? So another thing that we need with the new cannons is the ammo parts cost has been significantly increased. It's approximately 4 times higher than it used to be. So we're going to need more ammo barrels overall to keep this thing fed. But I'm going to address that very shortly because we have to compensate for the localized resources. Now I'm going to be a good little boy and remove this. That is now unplaceable again. Bye bye fuel processor. You will never be seen again. I'm sorry. Now, you can leave that on your ship and work away the very best. It's like having your own personal little fuel refinery, but I like to remove them for future proofing and sort of play the way it's meant to be played. The fuel processors are, like I say, now unplaceable, and you have to get your fuel from a proper fuel refinery on possibly a different ship. So, well, more than likely a different ship, or if you have maybe a big capital ship or something that you have a fuel processor on, but it's not really the thing you want to be carrying into battle. They're highly explosive. But anyway, on to the localized resources changes. Now what we need to do for these is, first up, if you want your repair bots to work again, you're going to need to actually have resources on the ship to use. So I find a great way of getting like a little bit of everything is using these miscellaneous resource crates. Do we need a big one? I don't want to put it so close to the cannon here. Resources are valuable, and if they get blown up, well, you lose everything that's in the box, so you don't really want to do that. I think 2 of these is enough, and that should be enough to just do any sort of minor repairs and stuff like that. If we're in a fleet, we can sort of siphon resources from other ships nearby, and that'll help keep us ticking over. Now, this thing is going to need more fuel, and we have these funky ones added from before, but let's go with one of the slightly bigger ones. because I want to have at least a little bit longer operational area. I am going to add a new fuel engine for this, and rather than using a prefab, I'm going to build a new one for you. But for now, we're just going to put these in anyway, because we know we're going to need them. I'm going to aim for a fairly efficient engine, but let's just add a little bit of extra fuel. That should be, what, these are 2,000 each, I think, yeah. Fuel says 53,000, but that's including the fuel that's in the engines, and these are not going to be here very soon. Yes, the funky red outline of doom. That means that they are not long for this world and should be removed. I will be moving on to that very shortly. Another thing I like to add whenever I'm building, like retrofitting a ship, is a little bit of extra metal, because the resource or the ammo generation from ammo barrels has been reduced somewhat, and it's good to have a couple of ammo processors on your ship now. So I'm going to get an extra little bit of redundancy metal, just to have a bit of extra, and this will be useful for keeping our ammo storage filled up. Let's find somewhere nice to hide this. Down here. What's in here? That looks safe enough. We'll get 2 of them plunked in there. Now that'll make sure that we have plenty of ammo available for us, or plenty of metal available for our ammo processors. Now let's get our ammo processors in. Where are you? Now, we don't need that much ammo. I have quite a few ammo barrels on this, and we could actually take them out and replace them for these. Yes, it would cost metal overall, but that's one of the things that's just going to happen in the new campaign. Things are going to cost more, so we're going to have to deal with it. That I think is about all you need for the localized resources. We have a bunch of ammo processors, we have our fuel in, and we have the resources that we need to make use of those new tools. So that's well and good. Brilliant. Next is the big scary retrofit problem. The fuel engines. So this guy is gonna have to go. And I'm gonna do that quickly in a speedy update. Okay, we now have a floating annoying engine in here, but we'll deal with that very shortly. So this leaves us with a 5x5 by, I think it's 10, because I did count this out first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And they might have to go, but we shall see. Approximately 5x5 by 10. I might have to jiggle about some of these bits to make sure that everything fits okay. Yeah, I can build on up here, that's fine. That's just a beam for cosmetics and stuff. Anyway. So we have a 5x5 by 10 space to fill with engine. And before we do that, it might be worth... Oh, blast. One thing I should have done before I did the engine thing was probably worked out exactly how much shields that we need. Okay. Super quick fix is I'm going to prefab a few engines under the bonnet. There we go. We should have plenty of power now. It's a rudimentary solution, but it works. I'll take them off, obviously, in a minute. But that gives us some power to work with. And I want to configure the shields before I actually do anything else. Now, with the new fuel engines, power is a bit more of an issue. More power that you burn, the more fuel that it costs. It doesn't matter if you have the most efficient engine in the world. It's still going to cost a bunch of fuel to actually keep things powered. So having a high power draw all the time is maybe not the best idea. Now, this is an example of a strength 10 shield, and everyone has been spamming these to Kingdom Come for absolutely ages, but it's probably not the best way to go about it. Nowadays, we're going to have to be a little bit more considerate with our power, so dropping it down to something like 3 or 4, and in this case 3, we're down to 28 power. 28 power! That is a massive decrease. That is 10% of what it was before. And these strength 3 shields are by no means crap. I mean, if you have enough of them, they really add up. And you can still spam really quite a lot of shields whenever you're using the fuel engines. You don't have to worry that much about it. As long as you use these strength, lower strength values, because this scales up quite considerably after about 5. There we are, 4.5, we're at 70, and then we start to ramp up dramatically at the higher end of the scale. So keeping it low and spamming more shields is probably a good way to go. But let's go along the hull here and just configure all of the shields quickly. Okay, that should be most of the shields configured, and you'll notice that our energy budget has dropped significantly. We're down to about 300 power consumed now compared to the couple of thousand that it was before. So with the 300 power requirement from these shields, I think we're going to leave a little bit of extra headroom for increasing the size of them and increasing the distance, but without increasing the strength too much. And then we're going to build an engine that's going to fulfill everything that needs to be fulfilled there. Now this thing has a lamp system, so rather than building a dedicated high-powered engine that runs high all the time, we're probably going to want to build a second engine that is possibly capable of filling that up, or we could just go with one big general purpose one. I think I'm going to keep it simple and just build a big general purpose engine that does the job. Now we're aiming for 300 power for the shields, and I'm going to budget an extra, say budget up to 1,000 for the shields, and budget an extra 2,000 or so for the laser system, and then a little bit of extra for headroom. So I would really like to have an engine that puts out about 4,000 power. Those 3 red lines, I know I can fit 2 red lines in here, but we'll use approximately 1. Now, I forgot to mention that yes, this is a 5x5 area, but not until I take the floor out. Now it's 5x5. But yeah, anyway, I have it set up on the other platform here. Now this is Ruger's fuel engine platform with all of his lovely examples, but it's a good place to actually start building a proper engine because it's got all the fuel resources available to us already. And it's not a compact, cramped little mess where I can't actually fit in and see anything. So let's start building an engine. What we first want to do is get a couple of cylinders on the top. So our fuel engine parts, we'll get our cylinders. We'll get symmetry on. I like to build radial engines, which are all the way around the crankshaft. I'm going to use 2 carburetors. One there, and there. So we all have a little bit of carb sharing. Now, rather than building like a bunch of extra like cylinders and carbs, I'm going to make the most of the carburetors that I have. So let's get an adapter and put an extra few cylinders on the top and the bottom. Now, the reason you use carbs is so that you can actually improve their efficiency with superchargers and turbochargers. So we want to get turbos and supers on here. Superchargers work better at low RPM, and I find that having one of these in your engine really helps the efficiency whenever it's running low, and it's helpful just to dedicate that one square to it. The turbochargers are for high RPM and are really good for improving your efficiency at the higher end of the rev scale. I'm going to try and get 2 of these onto every single carburetor and 1 supercharger. So we're going for a 2-for-1 there, and the whole sort of fun part now is actually Tetrising the bloody thing together. And this can be the really hard part. So I like to take symmetry off of this because it leaves you with a little bit more in the line of options. You don't have to worry too much about symmetry. So in this regard, I'm going to build like this. So you can see the input face is that little sort of green cone on the right hand side, and the output, which is your engine output, is the little bullet tip there. Engines it doesn't matter if you're actually outputting into a solid block or anything like that, you just don't have to worry about it. But I'm going to build with that completely ignored. For now, we're going to try and get just 2 of these turbos onto each one. That looks pretty good, but these are running very hot, so I want to put some exhausts in. Now exhausts, whenever you add them, will improve the the temperature of your engine. They'll reduce the temperature. So if you can use these junction exhausts or the throughput exhausts to attach to two sides at once. And if I do this, it'll actually attach to both of these sides and act as an output for those both, which is pretty cool. It's all well and good, and I want to have one of them at the top as well. So this means that all of these 4 cylinders on the side have an extra cooler. All well and good. I probably, yeah, this is running at 66 temperature. That's really, really high. So I'm going to want to have exhausts here as well, don't I? Let's have corner pipes. Nope. Again, the little bullet tip is the output face, and this applies to all the exhausts. And I'm going to route it this way, just because. You can go there, and I need to do it on the bottom as well. And this should really dramatically decrease the temperature of those cylinders and make them run a lot more efficient. There we go, down to 28. That's great. Now the next thing on the list is to prefab this and repeat it. Now we can look at it now, and this will give us a rough idea of what sort of output we're going to get for the engine. If you press Q on the engine block, it gives you this lovely big graph system. All of these are probably fine. The ramp up time, 1 second. Because we have a laser missile system, this would probably benefit from being a little bit lower. In fact, I am going to lower it a little bit. One issue with lowering it is it actually reduces your fuel efficiency, so it's not good. Decay time, it doesn't really matter how fast it decays. I would probably like it to decay faster, but it doesn't matter terribly. Responsiveness, we can leave alone. Battery charge, we're not using batteries. And maximum drive, we want it to be running up to its maximum capable capacity. So that's all well and good. We have all this sitting about here, but it only puts out 1200. The reason I built this engine the way that I built this engine is so that I can just go to the prefabs, I'll wipe that one, and we're set up right, sweet. And rotate this the way that I want it. Where is up? The arrow dictates forward. We want to go down here, and this should select all the bits that I need. Now I know I've got an engine block in there, but that's fine, because whenever I paste it down here, it'll not paste that engine block in. So, what sort of power output do we have here? Total power, maximum power, 3600. That is probably within what I'm sort of happy with using. That's not too bad. It's a reasonably efficient engine. You know, two supers is pretty good, or 2 turbos and 2 supers is pretty good. Output per fuel per second, it's more favorable at the high end of the scale, which is kind of good, because whenever you're burning a lot of fuel to get more power, that's when you want it to be the most efficient. At the lower end, not so much an issue, but it really improves as it goes up. So that's a good sign, and this is a reasonably good engine for our purpose. It could maybe benefit from being a little bit more powerful, and I do have room to add maybe another carburetor on the end, which I think I will do actually. Let's take the prefab and cap this off by reversing it. Yeah, this is too big, it's gonna have to go. That sucks. Anyway, yeah, I've got basically a complete prefab here that I can use to do all the lovely things and pop that into that space that we have on the Rottweiler, and that's basically the retrofit complete. But I'm gonna get this thing prefabbed up, and we'll plonk it in and do some final tweaks to the whole design. Let's see, wipe you, get it the right way up. And it was 9 long. Oh, I know what to add. I'll add a radiator on the end for funsies because it looks cool. But for now, we'll grab this. We'll go over to the Rottweiler. And we probably want it attached to this wall instead, right? Ah, my head. Should fit there. And moment of truth. Click. Power output 3600. Okay. looking good. Let's just get a radiator because they look awesome. Large radiator. Trunk. Sweet. All good. So, wise. Oh yeah, we're standing on the other platform. Let's hop over to the Rottweiler here and see what the stats we're getting is. Why has it got 1300 engine power? Oh, the red lines. Ah, moron. Okay, that's a bit better. We were using epoxy 300 power. That is pretty amazing. Like I say, I wanted to budget about 2000 for the lambs, but I want to also tweak all of these shields. Since I made these, I did learn a couple of things. One interesting thing to note about shields is blocks actually, even slopes, sorry, occupy a full block space. So this block actually comes out to here. And I configured a lot of these shields before I knew about this. So if a shell actually hits here, even though there's no physical, like, or visible entity there, it will actually explode, or it'll do damage to the block, even though it's behind the shield in as far as we can see. So you actually want your shields to be well out from this, and you know, up to about here at least, so that if you draw a full box there, that the shield is covering the full box rather than the 2 meter slope. So that's an interesting little thing. I'm going to quickly I'm going to quickly configure the shields on this thing, and then I'll just come back to wrap the episode up. And there we have it, a completely retrofitted Rottweiler. I turned all of the shield colorizers down to, or turned them up a little so you could actually see just how much shield coverage we have. We actually have considerably more coverage than we used to by reducing the strength of the shields. Now these are only strength 3 and 4 shields. No, 2 and 3. These guys at the top are only 2 because the only thing they're really protecting is my bonce, which isn't so important. These ones at the side are strength 3, these ones at the front are strength 3. But strength 3 shields are enough to take on a lot of low caliber weapons and will really help your survivability just having them there. Each of these shields only costs about 130, and look at the size of them. Absolutely massive coverage, and we can set the distance pretty far because the base cost is so low. So yeah, shields aren't so much out of the way. I spammed the crap out of them here, and you'll see I'm going to do a very short sort of outro letting this guy fight a couple of things. We'll spam a couple of them in and about. But you'll see just how effective these shields can be, even though they're set to very low strength values. Another thing I forgot to mention is we have the solid clips, so I did add those in, and it just helps our frame rates just a teensy little bit. And our engine is sitting here nice and tidily. This could use a little bit of filling in just to pretty it up a bit. And I know we haven't got the exhausts pipe, but you don't need to. This is just to show you how to get everything sort of basically sort of fighting fit and ready to go as soon as possible. You can obviously do a much better job than this in the engine room. Maybe make it a little bit better protected, or at least output your exhaust fumes somewhere else, because it looks badass if you do it properly. But anyway, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Any likes, subs or comments are really awesome. I love hearing from you guys, and I read every single comment. Like I say, I'm going to leave you with this guy shooting up some crap for your enjoyment. As always, take it handy and have a bloody good day.